Alright, welcome to Patchman vs. Blue Squares podcast. We are testing the screen recording software right now, OBS Studio. Seems to be working. My name is Dave and I am developer of Patchman game series. Started off as Don't Be Patchman. We split it up into 4 episodes. We're currently working on the 2nd episode, which is called Patchman vs. Blue Squares. A little confusing, I know, but we want to be a little bit audacious, I guess you could say. Okay, I'm just going to jump into it. We're going to start with a level design series. I'm going over the first episode, the first 10 levels of that. This time with OBS Studio. Okay. Start this game up. We are streaming on Twitch. Move this game over in the corner here. Looks like everything's working. Let's hope the audio stays. That was my big problem last time. The audio kept dropping after about 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, could be 30 seconds, could be 5 minutes, but averaged it to be 2 minutes. Oh man, this is probably like take 60. Because I'm a little skeptical whether it will work or not, so getting a little unenthusiastic, I guess you could say. Alright, this is the main menu. I'm gonna click here. This is the quadrant menu. We just call it quadrant menu because there's 4 islands, 4 floating islands. Now, I really like this menu. It's relaxing. The game separated into 4 episodes, and each episode is represented by one of these floating islands. So, first floating island is this forest island. The next one is an office world. After that, there's a desert-like world, and then a final world. So, episode 1 takes place over these levels. There are 10 levels to play through, plus a bonus one at the very end. When the first time you launch the game, you can only unlock the first level and play that. And the first level is called Granny's Cottage. Let's go into there. Zoop. So Patchman wakes up. Where are my symbols? My head feels so stitched together. And what are these patches sewn into me? I've got a little hint bubble here. I'll see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah. Flashing yellow arrow. Interesting. When I hold down the key, it kind of seems to hang. Zoom in on Patchman phone. That's not a feature of the game, that's just my desktop. But I actually really want to turn that yellow arrow off. I can do that by going to the settings, turning off hints. Okay. Now, I could go around and play the whole level from start to finish. Maybe I will, but the point of this broadcast is to show you how I made the level and why I did certain design decisions. So this was never the first level of the game when we first created the game. The first level had all the kind of features that you'd expect out of later levels. But players, every time we had a public demo and people were playing, it was just too much. So this level is kind of like a tutorial level. You don't have to fight anything, you don't have to do anything too complicated. You just run around, explore a little bit, and yeah, it gets you familiar with the controls. For example, walking around, it's pretty simple. Jumping. You can zoom in and out, although that's not really part of the tutorial. What else is there? There's kind of like picking things up and dropping them is part of the tutorial. So let's go see. The first thing that you're really supposed to do, although you can kind of do whatever you want, is go talk to Granny. I'm gonna sneak up on her. Granny! Patchman says, excuse me. Where are all my red circles? Did you steal them? She just kind of grunts at you, sort of. Do you even know who I am? I don't seem to remember anything. Not even my name. Always crying. I really like designing the crying tears there of Patchman. They're just like little pixels that fall down. Granny writes a note. Dear Patchman, you are Patchman. You need to stop being Patchman. Huh? I'm confused. Don't worry. I'm drawing a comic book that explains everything. Please go away while I work on it and bring me an apple. It's been so long without any fruit. I remember Granny's actually writing this as a note, so you might think it's a bad voiceover, but it's really actually from the main character's voice. Be careful, and don't be you anymore. Love, Granny. Smiley face. You see a little text bubble? She wants an apple there. Then she kind of wanders around her cottage here, and she's like working on her table there. It's like a little sewing kit. You see these little isometric scissors and stuff. These are all like clues to the backstory. The backstory of what happened before you woke up in the game, which is actually one of the big mysteries of this game. There she goes, writing her comic book. I interrupted her. Come on, Granny, talk to me. She doesn't talk until you bring her an apple, so just basically get lost until you bring me an apple. She's gonna do her dishes. Now this level, when it's built by the engine, i.e. like created within the game, it's done semi-procedurally. So Granny's Cottage is not procedural, but the rest of it pretty much is. You can see the river here. Every time you reload the level, it will be a little bit different. So I'm just gonna go on console, restart the level. I can walk over here and see, yes, the river is a bit different. So it's being generated using a pathfinding algorithm. And if I zoom out of the level, you can kind of see that better. But what I really want to do, zoom out, and so I'm running it from the console so I can quickly do stuff like jump to a level or something like that. It's a little too big. Okay, so you can see the river is running from the right edge of the map to the left edge. Every time I reload it, it's going to be a little bit different. You can see the soil is over here right now. That's over here. That's over here. The flowers are in different configurations, I guess you'd say. Animals are starting in different places. Let's turn this music off. But like the overall level stays the same. So for example, Granny's cottage is always going to be those 2 rooms with the paths out front. And over on the left, the bear is always going to be sitting by a stump. Although it might be in a slightly different place each time. I'm not sure if it's a different place or not, but let's see, he was down there about 4 or 5 spots up. Yeah, it might be the same. But in any case, the rest of it, like the trees and the river, they're all in different places. Just to make it like, when you play it, it's going to be unique to each person when they play it. And it's also, if you happen to die and restart, it's not exactly the same. It's a little boring. Sorry about that, the phone rang. Then I'll show you. This is Granny's Cottage, made with Tiled. Tiled is a map editor. And the crux of it are these walls. I'm just deleting them. And then underneath the walls will be ground. So for example, these tiles in her floor. And when the level's generated, any empty ground tiles will be filled with whatever nature tiles have been specified. And that'll be specified in a level data file. So you can see this is the settings for the level. Kind of annoying to put them in tiled, so in Zero Brain Studio I'm using. It looks a lot nicer. Tiled is really an awesome tool, and you can use it to do a lot of awesome things, but it's good for what it does and it's not good for what it not does. For example, this, I wouldn't want to do this in tiled. So I'm just looking, default ground tile equals 7, and 7 is going to refer back over to, so that tile there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's going to be the default ground tile that's filled in on the map. And then these segment patterns are kind of like, the map is split into a grid, a segment grid of 3 by 3, 3 by 3. And the underneath layer will be nature, which is like a set of trees, and then in the middle upper map it'll be a flower field with 8 smaller fields. And then kind of in the middle height and to the left edge of the map we'll have a bear stump. And then over top of all those patterns we're going to put Granny's Cottage over to the right. And then at the very edge of the map, and the left edge, the right edge, and the bottom edge, we're going to put forest. So that kind of traps the player in. These segment things, we're going to add, for example, ladybug to the segment 1-1, which is XY. It'll be the top left, and we'll put a ladybug in the top right. And we'll put a ladybug in the middle. We'll put 16 butterflies in the middle top, so on. Squirrels and a bear cub. And when you play it on medium mode, this is going to be all modes. You can specify medium mode will have 5 more squirrels. Hard mode will have 10 more squirrels and 2 more bear cubs. Seems like the Twitchcast is really working, so I am going to start the game back up. And show you more of how this level is made. I can maybe show you what happens if I change. I can change these things in real time, so let's add a lot more butterflies. You can see there's quite a lot more butterflies there. I don't really like that zoom level, so we'll get rid of that. Fortunately, it's like starting on the wrong monitor. Okay, there we go. I got a lot of butterflies here. Kind of neat to play with. When I turn the physics debug overlay on, you can see they are made of circles. Run over to the house. And the house is made out of like isometric lines here. These green lines are the physics. Whoa, confusing. I'll turn those butterflies back. 16. So to make this into a tutorial level, we did add hints, and well, I don't really like the hints. I found that testing the game, it was just like not working. People were just running around doing whatever they want, which, you know, it's fine, but we're not Minecraft. We don't have that much leeway in giving the player choice to do stuff, because at the end of the day this is a story-based game, so Granny gets stuck there. So first you go to Granny, talk to her, she gives a little quest, fetch an apple. I'm just going to skip right through. The hint arrow tells you, oh, you gotta go get a seed. So at this point, the player has figured out how to walk around. They have kind of figured out how to skip along in dialogue, most likely. They probably jumped. And now they're gonna try and get the seed. And when they try to, the bear is probably gonna kill them. And that makes Granny cry. So you restart. Now the hint arrow is telling you something different. It's a tricky hint arrow. What if I just made the hint arrow go right to what the obvious solution was? Then no one would get eaten by the bear, and that's fun. So in easy mode or normal mode, you can pick up this beehive, and on hard mode you get hurt when you pick up the beehive, so you can throw it in the river, wait for it to come to the end and pick it up. So this is another thing kind of teaching you, is like how to pick up and drop stuff, although you don't really use it throughout the rest of the game. In later episodes you do need to do that. Now the bear kind of like, hey, you gotta behave, I don't care. Get the seed. It's telling you drop a seed there in the soil. We've got our first apple tree. Obviously not a real apple tree. It'd take probably 10 years or whatever to grow, but this is a video game, it's not real life. And if you're looking for realism, this is not the best game, but oh, we got a bear cub. Ah, you got me. So if you go near a bear cub, the mama bear runs after you. Now because we're in development mode, we don't have to do that all over again. I will just say equip an apple. Now we've got apples, haha. I've got infinite apples. When I use that from the command line, it just gives me infinite whatever I said. The bear still doesn't like that. Go over here. Now I can give Granny the apple, and then it'll end the level. Granny, an apple for you. Thank you, my dear. That's my Granny voice. Patchman, before you lost your memory, you did a terrible thing. Wasn't me. It was, actually. You will understand after you read the comic book. Yeah, give me the comic book then. Please fetch the pages from my writing desk. So she finished it. But what are those loud noises? I originally wanted to say loud noises. Like an Anchorman reference, but it'd be too cheesy. No, Granny! She's getting kidnapped by a drone boss. And the comic page just blew away. And the circle boss ran off with Granny. Alright, that wraps up episode 1. But I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the level design. You notice that Granny is no longer there in front of the cottage. She's taken up by the circle boss way over here. I've also unlocked all the levels because I'm using a development version. Now when you go back into level 1, it's going to give you this shack menu, which is basically not useful at all right now, but as you progress later in the game, you get more stuff, and you can only take some of it with you. And this is how you do that with the shack menu. But it's, if you wanted to play this again and unlock or like achieve the different patches, for example, we only got 2 patches out of 3. And maybe you're a completionist, you want to get 3 patches, you play it on hard. I wanted to just kind of like show a little bit of stuff that kind of like hidden treasures, so to speak. So I'm gonna give an apple to one of these squirrels. It got stuck there. Actually, no, the squirrels want a seed. I'm gonna have to give myself an apple seed. I use the console spawn apple seed. Oh, I can't do that. But I can do this. Give myself an apple seed in the console. Is the music back on? No. I'm just playing it through my music computer. So I'm gonna give I've given a squirrel a seed. You can see that green thing lit up. So the idea behind that is that you get these followers, and you could get a number of them. They follow you around. Really not of any significant use, although later on in the game you can use them to your advantage, but it's kind of like an unofficial feature. If you click on one of them, it jumps up and down. You can give him a path to go on. And he runs around on that path. Then he's no longer your follower and he's running off again, but if you have more, you can use them. What that actually does is later on when you're fighting drones, you can send one of these guys to distract them and the drone chases after him. Which is kind of cruel to the squirrels, because then the drone tries to shoot them with lasers. The real reason this is in here is the ferreticoon, which we started and it just got like out of control. You would capture this ferreticoon and you'd have to get him to the end of the game following you without the drones killing him, and that is like just ridiculously impossible for the player to be able to do, because you gotta jump over things, you gotta fight drones, and your ferreticoon's gonna die. We could make him ridiculously strong, but then there would be no challenge. We're still actually planning to do that once all the episodes are fully wrapped up together, because that was one of the backer rewards for a Kickstarter, so we still have yet to deliver on that one, but we delivered so much more. I do feel bad about that. For example, we delivered comic books and bosses, and yeah, those were a bigger deal. They were stretch goals. Now they're part of the game. Alright, I'm gonna play around with my vocoder a bit here. Make my voice go strange. But I think that's wrapping it up. I want to end with telling you about the Kickstarter that we're running for the second episode of Patchman versus Blue Squares. The Kickstarter is live right now. We have a demo for the next episode on itch, it's free, and we have a Steam coming soon page. So I'm hoping to reach game players who are interested in this game, and I really want them to wishlist the game and hopefully back on Kickstarter. It's only $5, so I'm gonna put the link in the comments right now. I think that's it for this episode. It took around 60 tries to actually get this podcast to work from front to back, so I've gotten a little nauseous of like doing this over and over again, same level. Maybe that came through. I'm not that excited this time around, but now that this is working, thank you OBS Studio, Open Broadcasting Studio, and Twitch. Looks like I'm gonna go forward and continue this level design series. I'm gonna go over level 2 to 10 now in the next broadcast. I think it's gonna be more interesting. The first level, like a tutorial level, not too interesting. When you start getting the sheeple and the drones and new plants and stuff, I'll have a lot more to talk about and share. And then we have some other things we want to do too, like going over design of the comic books and other cool stuff. And of course episode 2, the design of the first level there is really fascinating, and I really hope, especially if you've played through the first episode, definitely check out episode 2 demo, because it's really cool and continues the story. The story which is baffling everyone. I want to go over maybe a Steam review right now. That's really fascinating. So I sent out a number of free copies on Curator Connect. Oh, my sales live. Loading reviews. So I just noticed this yesterday. A review posted on March 2nd by Unown. Unown? Unowen. Just let me change the music here. I'm getting tired of this song. You might be too. Alright, Binster, Diplomat. That's a great song. Okay, so on March 2nd, Unowen reviewed it, and he gave it a thumbs up, which is awesome. Thank you. And I'm tying this back into the game itself. Like, what is this game? Such a strange title. This guy says that the title, the naming conventions on this particular title are quite baffling. It occasionally appears as Don't Be Patchman versus Red Circles. To be or not to be? Is that the question, Natural Intelligent? And then he goes on to say, where is it? He really talks a lot about how the game is about junk food versus eating fruit. So kind of like, to him, it's about eating junk food versus eating healthy. And somehow you save the sheeple by giving them healthy food. Which on the surface, I guess, it looks that way. And funnily enough, like, that was always like just kind of like a side thing of sorts. And it seems like people are focusing on that. I'm not trying to say junk food's bad or you gotta eat healthy or you're a dumb sheeple or something. It's just that the drone army in the game, in the story, that's how they kind of control the sheeple. They took away their self-sufficiency of growing their own food, of eating apples. And apples just represent like a food source, it's not supposed to be apples in particular, just anyway, that was taken away from them and replaced by vending machines. And the vending machines just give out like, it's really just bland food packets, like almost like a Soylent Green type situation. So yeah, that's just like one facet of the story, and there's so much more to it. But I don't want to like give it away and like spoil it. I also don't even mention this facet of the story, but we are running a contest actually that gives quite a large cash prize to anyone who figures out what the game is about. It's always been my like goal to make a game that was so confusing, but there's one gotcha. Once you figure that out, everything makes sense. And so far no one is even close at all. Like, it's rather amusing to me. I just find it hilarious. At the same time, it's like hurting me because people are like, what is this confusing mess? I don't want a part of it. But I was trying to like sell it as like a mystery, like, oh, what's this about? I want to know more. So, a really good review. Like, look how much this guy wrote. Like, props, because that is a lot of effort on your part. I'm gonna assume your name is Owen, because it says Unowen. Must be a play on his own name. And then in the comments of the reviews, he's giving it like the final rating and whatnot. So I'm gonna reply to that soon and thank him for that. And then I'm going to kind of like not clear things up, but yeah, I guess, and not rebut him because he seems like a good guy. Yeah, and in our contest on Reddit, contest, let's see. What is this game about? You'll see this is a number of people have entered, and again, focusing on the food. That's pretty cool. Really good right up here. You should really try that. It's contest.don'tbe.ca, and it's on Reddit. I tried running it on my forums, but spam bots, Russian spam bots, I think, wherever, just like mercilessly decimate my forums, and I can't maintain it. I don't have the time to constantly prune them out, so Reddit seems to have a handle on that. At least they're getting rid of the advertising spam bots. And you can see the latest episode has a Steam page. And really broke this up so that broke this up into different Steam packages just to spread the awareness of it. The coming soon, more people can see it. And it is each episode is quite large. Like, first episode is 10 levels. It takes people usually about 10 hours to complete. Okay, I think I'll sign off now. I think the stream went not bad. Thank you very much for checking in, if you have checked in. And have a good day. I'll see you probably tomorrow with the next stream.